Don Khouri here, Managing Director of Fortune Northeast, and I love helping dentists get crystal clear about their vision and inspiring the whole team to be responsible for it. Today, we're going to be talking about finances and how that connects to your vision and your team. Before even having a financial plan, dentists need to be crystal clear about their vision, their philosophical vision, and their structural vision. So their philosophical vision is about what kind of dentistry do they want to practice, and what is their ideal team like, and their ideal patient, and their ideal facility. And their structural vision gets more into what does the year ahead look like? How much are we going to earn? How much are we going to collect? How many days are we going to work? And getting really clear about that. Which actually brings me to the second part of a good financial plan, which is setting financial goals. Every year, we take our clients through a business planning process so that they can set an annual financial budget. So we do all of those things. We help them define how many days are they going to work, what their daily goal is, which then turns into a monthly goal and an annual goal for every provider in the practice. And then that's all supported by a marketing plan, a technology plan, a people plan, a systems plan. So at the end of that day, they have a really robust business plan. And then you ask for three. The third thing as part of a good financial plan is having the right monitors in place. Because we believe firmly at Fortune that what gets measured gets improved. What gets measured gets improved. So if we can have the right monitors in place, then we'll know if we're on track, and we can compare if we're off track to get us back on track. To understand how overhead costs can impact practice profitability, the first thing we want to look at is revenue. Because many times doing that will actually get expenses back in range. So for example, let's take $1 million practice that has a payroll expense of $300,000. That's 30%. Increase in collections to just 1.2 million with the same payroll will bring that expense line item back to 25%. So increasing on revenue is really the first thing we want to do. Second thing is understand industry guidelines for 6 key expenses. Payroll is first, so 22 to 28% in this post-COVID environment, that's where you want payroll to be. The second one is lab expense. Lab for a non-CEREC practice is in the range of 8 to 12%. And for a CEREC practice, because you're eliminating the lab cost, under 3%. Dental supplies is the next one, 5 to 6%. Marketing, 3 to 4%. Office supplies, 1 to 2%. And rent, 5 to 7%. In some urban areas like Manhattan or downtown San Francisco, that may be higher than 7%, but normally 5 to 7%. If there were a third thing you could do to really understand and control your practice profitability, it would be to assign source people to be responsible for each key line item expense on your profit and loss. So for example, an assistant who's responsible for that dental supply number and keeping it in that 5 to 6% range. An office person or office manager that's responsible for office supplies. And a marketing source person that's responsible for that marketing spend. Keeping that all in line. If you do these things, you're going to master your profitability. So beyond the profit and loss, beyond income and expenses, there are some other metrics that are really important. So cash flow is king. The biggest killer of small businesses is not managing cash flow. And you should know, if you don't already, that net income is not a measure of cash flow because there are items that are just not cash related on your profit and loss. So if listeners have ever run into a situation where they had to tap into a line of credit to cover payroll, then that may be a situation where you don't have a full understanding of your cash flow. And your checking account is also not a measure of cash flow, just how much is sitting there. So getting a good understanding of that is most important. The second thing which will help with cash flow is understanding your accounts receivable. One of the first things we do with clients is something called a practice analysis and opportunity assessment. And one of the metrics we look at is accounts receivable. And we like to see accounts receivable, total accounts receivable, including everything patients owe you and everything insurance companies owe you, under 1 month average collections. I'll say that again. Accounts receivable, total AR, under 1 month of average collections. So getting control of that will help with cash flow, and it's another really important metric. The other thing I love to do with clients is look at the trends. How are our production trends and where are they headed? Where are the collection trends? Are we headed up or down, or do we have kind of this wavy situation? And getting us to a more consistent, steady upward trend. So those are a couple important metrics beyond just understanding income and expenses that will help you get control of your practice. So sometimes dentists will ask me, how do I really take my practice to the next level? Or maybe they're feeling stuck. And my best advice on that is get a coach. Because the best performers in the world have a coach. A coach can help you see what you're capable of. And they will also help you reach places that you haven't on your own. I like to tell clients that I expect them to have a breakthrough on every coaching call. Now, sometimes that's a big breakthrough, and sometimes that's a smaller breakthrough, and sometimes the breakthrough happens in between sessions. There's always a breakthrough. Serena Williams doesn't get to Wimbledon and say, I'm the best there is. No one can coach me. Like, who can coach me? I'm the best there is. No, she probably doubles down on coaching so she can continue to win and stay there. Great performers have a coach. The other thing I would say is work on culture first. When you get the culture right, the financial success will follow. One of the things we believe at Fortune is culture eats strategy for breakfast. You know, at our core, Fortune is a personal development company. We believe in growing people, and when you grow people, that's when great things start happening in practices. There are 3 financial reports that every dentist should review regularly to understand their financial health. Quarterly is good, and monthly is even better. The first one is your profit and loss. This tells you, as you can tell by the name, whether your business is profitable or operating at a loss. It's simply revenue, or as we like to say in the dental industry, collections minus expenses equals profit or loss. The second one is your balance sheet. Your balance sheet tells you what you own and what you owe. What you own are called assets, and what you owe are called liabilities. And the third one is the statement of cash flows. Now remember, we talked about cash flow earlier and how important that is for a small business to understand. The other statements independently don't give you a good sense of cash flow. So if you're ever wondering, wow, revenue's increasing, but where's the cash going? The answer is in the statement of cash flows. So make sure your accountant is giving you all 3 of these on a regular basis. I could talk all day about how dentists can effectively use technology and software to simplify their processes and have better performance. Because look, I'm a techie at heart. I grew up as a software development. And there are many angles to look at here. First is your practice management software. So, are you using a really solid program that integrates the clinical and the accounting and gives you the information you need and is also easy to use, easy for providers to use, easy for the admin staff to use? All the information is at your fingertips. So that's the first place I would start, practice management software. Second is accounting software. So we've been talking a lot about finances, and to really understand this and for you to have full control over the reporting, you need to have good accounting software, something like QuickBooks, QuickBooks Online. And the third is clinical software. So the advancements are just amazing these days with programs like Pearl AI, which will help detect in your patient's mouth what needs attention and visually show them what needs attention. Other types of clinical technology are intraoral scanners and milling machines. So we mentioned CEREC earlier, having CEREC in your practice to get down to 1 visit crowns instead of 2 visit crowns. So effectively using all this technology and software to simplify processes is going to drive you to better performance. Sometimes dentists can have misconceptions about their practice finances. Let me share a couple of those with you because it may give you some insight. First that comes to mind is increasing patient volume is the only way to increase profitability. That's just not true. In fact, there's usually a significant amount of dentistry on patients of record. There's a stat we look at called hygiene effectiveness, which essentially measures the percentage of patients in your practice that are also in your hygiene program. You want to know what the average is? 30%. Now I know that you didn't go to dental school or hygiene school to take care of 30% of your patients. So if we can drive that number up to even 50%, or where our best practices are at 80%, that is a great way to increase profitability without just increasing patient volume or new patient volume. Going along with that, once you get those existing patients and even new patients in, you need to also schedule them optimally, because your time is worth a lot of money, and we want to make sure that you're using that time as effectively as possible. So mastering your schedule. Also, another misconception I would say is all advisors are the same. Financial, accounting, practice advisors. In reality, the ones that specialize in dentistry understand the nuances and the industry specifics. As we've been talking about, we know the details. So work with dentalist-specific advisors. The third misconception is all production is collected or all accounts receivable is collected. What you really want to do is have a great system in place for making sure, first of all, a great financial policy in place, and then follow it up with good collection procedures so that AR stays under that 1 month of average collection baseline. The dental industry is evolving in a way that includes more corporate competition, more banks in the lending space. There's a war out there to find and retain top talent, and insurance reimbursements are all over the place. So having an advisor that understands all of that and advises accordingly how to allocate your finances is really critical. Our friends at Northeast Private Client Group are masters at this, and you can easily get in touch with them at northeastprivate.com. So whenever a business owner wants to invest in new equipment, they must understand the return on investment, or ROI. The formula is simple: the expected return on the investment divided by the cost of the investment. So, for example, let's assume you want to invest in a CEREC machine for prime scan for $40,000. That's the investment. Now let's look at the benefits. Consider the additional revenue generated from the procedures that you're also making more efficient because of the scanner. So if the scanner allows you to do more same-day crowns, which might cost $2,000 each, the scanner allows you to do 25 more per year, That's an additional $50,000 per year. Maybe, which is true, the CEREC also allows you to reduce costs because you're saving on lab. Let's say that's $50 to $100 per crown. There's also time savings that goes along with this. Same-day crown means that we don't need to bring the patient back, meaning we can see more patients and generate more revenue. And the investor in the CEREC Prime Scan will also enjoy patient satisfaction, which could lead to more referrals. So what if in the first year we generate an additional $20,000 conservatively? $20,000 divided by that initial investment of $40,000 is a 50% ROI. You can't get that in the stock market consistently. And when you hire a coach, you should expect to grow 10 to 30% annually. That can result in a greater than 100% ROI. And you can't get that in the stock market either. So the real simple answer to this is understand return on investment, ROI, and how to calculate that in making any investment in your practice. If I were to give you the top 3 golden rules for financial management of dental practices, number 1, what gets measured gets improved. So measure. Review those financial statements religiously. We talked about profit and loss, balance sheet, statement of cash flows. Review those religiously. And if there's something you don't understand, ask an expert or figure it out. Make sure you understand them. Number 2, invest in patient retention and practice growth. That's going to do a lot more for your overhead than any nickel and diming of expenses. There's no better way to ensure financial success than continued growth. And we like to say that at Fortune there are 3 ways to grow your practice. You can get more new patients, that's certainly a way, more frequency of existing patients, and more revenue per patient. And there's a whole slew of strategies under each one of those. The third golden rule I would say is seek professional guidance. Work with financial advisors, accountants, coaches who specialize in the dental practices, and this will help you with budgeting, tax planning, optimizing your financial performance. And hey, if you follow all 3 of these golden rules, you're going to be better than 99% of the dentists out there. The first thing we do with clients is called a practice analysis and opportunity assessment. To start the process, very simple. Go to fortunemanagement.com and request the practice analysis. Think about it like your new patient exam. We're going to diagnose what's going on in the practice so that we can put a treatment plan together. We look at 20 metrics across your practice and we analyze them and we find out what's working really well and what could be better. And we sit down, we review the results, and we help you define next actions. It's also a way for us to figure out if you're the right person to work with us, because not all dentists are right for Fortune, just like probably not all patients are right for your practice. If you are, we'd love to work with you. And if you're not, that's okay. Either way, no obligation. I will promise you, it is life-changing.